item. So that if a principle is mentioned in every book of the Torah, how many commandments did the rabbis take out of that one principle? 5. Because it appears in all 5 books of the Bible.
Rindelman has it on his...
You shocked?
That's crazy.
All these Ephraimites, well, Rabbi, I'm going to tell you about this and this. Okay. And they don't walk in mercy and the letter kills. Oh, we covered all that last week. So if I'm going to get really religious on you, and if you're going to get really religious on me in Torah, you better be doing it to improve yourself, to be more like Yeshua, and not so you can tear people apart and rip their character and reputation. I'll go further than that. Dr. Laura Schlesinger, who is a secular psychologist, has more Torah love than most Nazarene Israelite brothers and sisters and believers that I've run across. She knows what Lashon Hara is. She knows what gossip is. Okay? She gives an example of a pillow with a feather going to the top of the mountain where a rabbi tells his disciple to release the feathers on the top of the mountain. Then he tells him to go back next day, stand on the same mountain, and recollect those feathers that he released from that pillow. And the disciple said to the rabbi, it's impossible to recollect these feathers. They've been scattered, never to be able to be collected and taken back. And the rabbi said, exactly. And that's what Lashon Hara does. That's what listening to gossip and slander does. They're like feathers of a pillow. Once they're released, they're impossible to ever recover.
Wow.
The damage has been done. The character has been assassinated. The individual has been destroyed for life. And it is impossible to regather those feathers back into that pillow.
Amen. Amen.
So don't tell me about how much Torah you know. Show me how much rachamim and chesed you are willing to walk in.
Yes,
Amen.
Baruch Hashem,
Yahweh.
Yahweh. And like I told my sister here, and like I told many of you before, listening is worse than talking. If you know someone that has a problem with this stuff, you've got to make it your business not to avoid them, because that's what they're going to give you. But that's not what I want to share with you. So the 613 mitzvot are not really 613. That's number one. You can verify that on your own. Don't take my word for it. Count them on your own. Print out the 613 from any Jewish website, Darryl, and then you can just count them or get someone to count them for you, and you'll come out with 350. And even in the ones that are 350, they're not all positive mitzvot. A lot of them are negative mitzvot. In other words, a positive mitzvah is you shall. A negative mitzvah is you shall not. So some of them are positive, some of them are negative. If you have 350 mitzvahs, basically, or 340, and you take away the negative mitzvahs, meaning you shall not, which is not really a mitzvah, it's more of a prohibition. If you take away the negative mitzvahs or the prohibitions, you're probably left with about 180 positive mitzvahs, or you shall do this. You shall guard the Shabbat. You shall not, you shall keep the Moedim. That's a positive mitzvah. You shall not steal. You shall not lie. Those are negative mitzvahs and not really mitzvahs. Mitzvah is a command to do something positive that Yahweh tells you to do. Make sense? Okay? So by the time you narrow the 613 down to 340 or 350, and you take away the negative mitzvah, you're down to about 170, 180. So this is what I mean by people thinking they know the Torah. And I have been following the Torah for many, many, many years. And I've been a rabbi for many, many, many years. And I did not know, because I never stopped to question what I had been told.
The old leaven.
Turn to your neighbor and say, he never stopped to question.
Never stopped to question.
He never stopped to question. We don't stop to question certain things that we've been told.
Amen. Amen.
We just take it for granted.
Yes, we do.
We don't stop to question these things.
Amen.
Can I hear a good amen?
Amen.
So if someone tells you there are 613 commandments, what do? We go, uh-huh, uh-huh. He's got a title next to his name. He must know. He's a rabbi. He's an elder. He's a deacon. As Yahweh lives, you will not find 613 commandments. Now, I had one lady write to me just this last week. She couldn't understand patriarchal marriage. Couldn't understand it. Didn't want to understand it. Okay? A product of several dysfunctional, mandated monogamous marriages. And she just couldn't understand it. And she said, well, I'm not accepting that stuff because it's not one of the 613 commandments. You see how she was parroting that 613 commandment thing? A lot of people will say to me, Rabbi, I do not accept patriarchal marriage because it is not a commandment. True. Some of you have said that. I've said the same thing, correct? Not a commandment. Marriage is not a commandment. Right? Marriage is an option. Monogamy is not a commandment. It's an option. Celibacy is not a commandment. It's an option. Plural marriage is not a commandment. It's an option. But wait a second. Wait a second.
Have to be consistent.
That's what I thought. Right, I'm going to shock you today.
Okay.
Will you allow me to shock you?
Hey.
Yes. Marriage is not like you must keep Shabbat. You must celebrate the Moedim. You must not take Yahweh's name in vain. The third commandment. Those are commandments. So I'm not saying marriage is like the 10 commandments. Now, hold on now. Marriage is not like the Eser HaDvarim. But if you're going to play the rabbi's game, like most of you listening to me on the radio are playing, the 613 dance routine, which are not really commandments because the rabbis have counted the same principle 3, 4, 5 times, you understand? So if Yahweh says don't steal in Exodus, and then he says again don't steal from your brother in Leviticus, it's 2 commandments. Don't steal from your sister, it's 3 commandments. It's all nonsense, it's all 1 commandment, don't steal. They count it every time it's mentioned.
Wow.
You're not going to hear this anywhere else, and we haven't even started the teaching.
Okay.
Now check this out. If we're going to be consistent, and if you want to be one of those 613 mitzvahs kind of guy, well, Rabbi, I'm not into this marriage stuff that you're teaching. Because I've been happily married monogamously for 40 years, so why are you shoving this stuff down my throat? Well, anyway, it's not a commandment. Well, if it's, okay, true. What you ought to be saying is it's not one of the 10 commandments. That's what you should be saying. Now I'm going to shock you, Brother Bruno. I'm glad you're back. Now I'm going to shock you. It is a commandment. And we're going to see today how it's a commandment. If you're still counting the 613. If you get away from that error, then it's not a commandment. But if we're going to be consistent, and we're going to believe what the Judaism and the elders of the Jewish people tell us, part of the 613 mitzvahs is what we're going to read in today's Torah Parsha. You follow what I'm saying? So again, I hope the lines are packed. I hope people are getting interested and excited to learn the truth of Yahweh's word. So let me repeat, just so y'all don't go home and twist my words.
Amen.
Is marriage a commandment like Shabbat keeping and not using Yahweh's name in vain? No, it is not one of the 10 commandments. However, when we count all the instructions, today we're going to read in today's Torah Parsha, we're going to read Yahweh's instructions. The rabbis count an instruction as a command. I'll say that again. The rabbis count every instruction as a command. I'll say that again. The rabbis count every instruction, Chris, as a command. I'll say that again. The rabbis count every instruction as a command. I'll say that again. The rabbis count every instruction as a command. So if you're going to go around and disagree with our teaching and many other rabbis' teaching about patriarchal marriage, you ought to know what you're talking about. Amen. To say that marriage is not patriarchal marriage and monogamous marriage is not one of the 613 commandments, you're wrong. It is one of the 613 commandments, as we're going to read today in today's Torah Parsha.
Right.
What you should be saying is the marriage is not one of the 10 commandments. Correct. Now you're correct. But it is a commandment, at least the way the rabbis reckon commandments. You follow me, Marcel? As far as the way the rabbis reckon the commandments, it is a commandment. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that we're not going to accept the teachings that Rabbi Moshe and others, praise Yahweh, that I'm not the only one, are teaching on the marriage options that the believer has. You can't say I'm not going to receive it because it's not part of the 613. Brother, sister, my ignorant Ephraimite brother who is